Lemmy rings came to the stomach dark, neath the depths of the lungs and heart.
Skills. Many people underestimate skills. Skill issue. I know, flashy races, quirky classes describe your character much more than some kind of set of 6 numbers. Or do they? Here am I telling you that skills can not only give your character personality, but also playing them correctly can articulate the fantasy of your character on a whole new level. Hi, I'm Goblin Tommy, this is playing D&D correctly. Today's masterclass, Skills 101. And because I can assume that a bunch of Zoomers are watching, in order to keep your attention span, this skill masterclass is also a tier list. So let's hop into this wonderful world of imagination, and by imagination I mean shameless matchkinism and ruthless min-maxing.
Because
Ironically, the weakest skill in the game, so my ranking of it should be obvious. But why is that? Long story short, because everything strength does, can another skill do much better. Dexterity. Let's see, for example, the plus number on your damage die. That is determined by your strength modifier, except when your class says otherwise. What I mean by that? Bladesinger, Battlesmith, Devotion Paladin, Hexblade, or actually any warlock now if I think about it. All of these classes use their spellcasting modifier as their damage modifier, meaning that they can dump their strength for a skill that they have already high enough. Okay, Goblin, but this only counts for these specific subclasses, to which all what I'm saying, finesse weapons. The other more general way how to dump strength is to use finesse weapons, which allows you to drop your strength for, say it with me, dexterity. So how many weapons counts as finesse, you ask? Almost all of them. The only exception being the highest rated damage die weapons, like greatswords and maul. Of course, the biggest downside of these weapons is that you can't use shield while wielding them, meaning that you lose that sweet +2 AC. Speaking of AC, guess which skill determines it? Yeah, so designers originally wanted to balance this by needing strength to wear heavy armor, which can secure a decent AC, but also comes with lots of downsides, so why bother if you can have high dexterity instead? To end my tangent about how dexterity steals all the spotlight from strength, we gotta mention the strength dependent skills check. In D&D, every stat has assigned a set of skills. Charisma has persuasion, performance, deception, wisdom has perception, insight, medicine. You wonder how many skills strength obtain? Yup, there's only one, athletics. Which in a way is not bad, you don't need to split your proficiencies among similar skills like aforementioned charisma, but you wouldn't guess which skill is the number one to be used instead of athletics, because of course all players dump their strength and now they can't climb and jump. It's acrobatics. Of course, it's dexterity based skill. Haven't you spotted a pattern yet? The fact that both skills start with A just add up to kerfuffle, but this is more of a what does your DM allows territory than anything else. On the other hand, all of those hyperactive kids who have the masculine urge to conquer every tree in the park are so known for their strength, right? But there must be something where strength has at least some kind of weight. About carrying capacity. Everyone ignores it, and I kinda don't mind. Maybe because I think D&D is a narrative game, so you don't go to dungeon looting all the butter knives Slade goblins had in the entering room. You go there because of a treasure which you take loose at the end. You don't end every dungeon with opening your Excel spreadsheets and start to calculating how much copper pieces your barbarian can carry. What you do is to forge some kind of card, or if you are a wizard, you cast Tenzer's floating disc, shout out to my favorite spell, and tell your DM how did you take all the loot. Notice how strength is not involved in any of this. And my final reason why strength is a dogshit skill, belts. It's just a question of time till your players start to wonder, how can I take this number and make it bigger? And in case of strength, the answer is stereoi, I mean belts. These magic items are your fantasy exoskeleton / power armor, which sets your strength to the next power level. Mark my choice of words, sets, not necessarily increases. The way these magic items work is that they set your strength to a given number, regardless of your previous modifiers. So, despite Matt Mercer give a Grog a well thought out character arc, the gloves Grog receives would do much more utility in any other Vox Machina member's hands. Of course, this is just pure munchkinism talking, but it's kinda true the more you think about it. So why would you spend your precious skill points into a skill which you can later replace with just one magic item? So I already established that dexterity is a strength's younger sibling who is seemingly better at everything, but how much better it is? Yeah, dexterity is the best skill in the game. To ramp this up, dexterity is the way how you beat the shit out of everyone. And with the new 2024 rules, the way you're playing it ain't going anywhere. Mainly because of the newly added nick property, which suddenly makes characters with light weapon hit hard. So DMs, for the next few months, you can prepare yourself for dex-based dual fighting vengeance paladins, while from east, an incoming front of monks making 3 attacks per turn on the first level may also occur. I also already mentioned that dexterity is your primary way how you get AC, well, except when you wear heavy armor, or you don't play naked monk or barbarian. Actually, Jimmy, no, they adds up. I mean, the dexterity adds up to the two particular skills. As a DM, I honestly don't care if some player would like to play a nudist monk barbarian cross class. I would give them the plus con plus wisdom on top of their dexterity. In actuality, the combo is not that strong. But if we want to play according to the rules, dexterity comes on top again. Yay! Sub-skills under dexterity lies acrobatics. We already chit-chatted about this. Sleight of hand, the skill most commonly misused for thieves' tools. I don't blame you, I like when my skill does something useful. Needless to say, Thieves' Tools is one of the more important skills in the game, because nothing makes adventurers more paranoid than big scary, locked non-magical door at the end of the hall. Stealth, a skill that classifies as an S tier on its own. Why is stealth so strong? I don't know how you run your games, but most of them follow a certain gameplay loop we all familiar with. It goes like yada-da-da-da, you walk through woods, caves, dungeons, and suddenly, BOOM! Encounter! Usually you end up with 4 options. The first being finding a way around it. The second is to interact with it, or you may pick a fight with it, it's D&D after all. And final option is to flee, if the situation goes too dire. I believe that 2 of these 4 options are heavily stealth dependent, so in case you are playing a kick and door style game, you probably will have to use stealth at one point. And with dexterity, there is no really way around it. Pass Without Trace comes into mind, one of the best spell on the second spell level, which only shows how important stealth is. Also, you gain disadvantage on stealth checks for wearing heavy armor. Just saying. Constitution is an odd one, mainly because it doesn't give you any offense utilities, which makes sense, it's called Constitution after all, but this strangeness results in some pretty weird scenarios like jock wizards. What am I talking about? It really just comes to what Constitution is and what Constitution actually serves. Constitution is important for spellcasters because of the extra HP Constitution guarantees. Also, Constitution gives you saving throws to concentration. Trust me, nothing can undermine your party more than spellcaster losing its concentration, so Constitution is something what every spellcaster needs. But how about more archetypical PC, which you imagine when you say Constitution? Like Barbarian. Yeah, they kinda don't need it. These classes already get a lots of HP, and they don't really have to roll for Constitution save that often. Well, except when your barbarian gets hit by a thunderous lightning, you can pull out aforementioned plus constitution modifier to your AC, but I'll be real with you, you don't wanna play your oiled up Arnold Schwarzenegger build. At this point you need to spend your skills into 3 separate stats. You're better off dumping con and picking heavy armor. Wait, Goblin, did you just stop hating heavy armor? That's right, it's a tough love. but I always loved my heavy armor. Next we have sub-skills. While the rules would made you incorrectly assume that there aren't any constitution related sub-skills, here am I telling you that that's a lie. That's right, competitive drinking is a real skill in this game. It's a franchise staple that every once in a while your party has to go to a nearest tavern and getting wasted while getting actually wasted irrelevant at the table. But how will you figure it out? Which one of your party members gets hammered first? Drinking proficiency, of course. Now the rules encourage you to roll for poison save, that being constitution, but I don't need to get saved from alcohol. I would like to gain expertise in it. But seriously now, constitution is one of the more important stats. My problem with it lies at that this stat doesn't really articulate what it's supposed to do. In my opinion, constitution and strength should be one and the same skill, so players who want to play your muscle boys can have some fun, but this would be too much homebrew, so it might just stay like it is now. Also, the way how constitution currently works kinda implement that "where have you been Gandalf" meme is canon, so there goes that.
Evolution, can you give me seeking behavior?
Avoid predators.
Actually developed paranoid schizophrenia.
Like a boy. Like a man.
From jock wizards to vanilla nerd ones. Yup, intelligence suck ass just like in real life. It really comes down to how many classes use this stat as their primer skill, those being wizard and artificers. Other than that, you really don't have a reason to pick intelligence. And it's a big shame, cause sub-skills under intelligence, if used correctly, are actually pretty good. Well, it depends on the type of game, just like always, but few people know that skills like Arcana or Religion should be primarily used in combat. You see, despite the rules not saying it directly, if your player plays this Sage character and uses its action for an Arcana check because they imagine their character to recall some kind of knowledge which can give party an upper hand in the fight with the monster, will you just ignore them and essentially skip their turn? No, you don't. You gave them the stat block, dummy. I'm sorry, Jimmy, your false Hydra is not that mysterious as you think, it's just annoying. It's kinda implemented that Arcana should be used on monstrosities, aberrations and so on, while Religion on the undead, because for some reason clerics are the greatest necromancers of them all. Yeah, and nature should be used on beasts, but the only information you need to know about beasts is that wolves have pack tactics. Other than that, you will always use Arcana. Arcana and history is also a good way for testing your DM how good of a DM they are. Does DM know how certain spells would shape the world? Can your DM implement the arcane into the gameplay as well? Well, if you feel that spending your proficiency to Arcana was worth it, then yes. And if you are a DM and slowly start to realize I'm poking fun of you, stop perceiving intelligence skill as lazy way how to get around your impossible puzzles and start using them as your lore dump packages as they are. Who knows, you might just give them a useful information. Okay, now the script says I need to mention that investigation is a great skill, as all passive skills are, and with that I summarized everything good about intelligence. Moving on to the bad. Just as I said, the main problem with intelligence is that only 2 classes are reliable on it, which often creates these funny inconveniences, like when your ranger pretends that he is a botanist with his expertise in survival while conveniently hiding its 0 nature stat. But I have even a better one. Clerics who doesn't have religion. I know, it speaks for itself. But why it's keep happening? Because the game forces you to prioritize stats benefiting your build. You don't have leftover skill points for skills, which essentially works as clues and hints at best. Because even if you play a bunch of idiots, if an information is crucial for the plot, you will eventually receive it. You can easily play game without intelligence. I believe the only reason why people don't dump intelligence entirely is because they don't want to be punished for being clever at the table. Oh, you guys want me to talk about how to play high intelligence character while I just have average intelligence? Well, it's a topic large enough for its own video, but at least you can see that this also counts as the reason why intelligence suck ass. Intelligence has similar problems as charisma, but before we can talk about charisma, we need to talk about wisdom.
Hanse of the Lake, what is your wisdom?
Warum erwartest du, dass ich Englisch spreche?
Ich bin Deutsch.
If you wonder what wisdom even is in D&D, wisdom are your senses, but also some kind of neat knowledge like medicine and animal handling. I mean, things like your sixth sense and emotional intelligence is not that far-fetched from the word wisdom, but it's also ambiguous enough to be still confused about it. Thanks goodness, it's much easier to answer what wisdom is from a game mechanic standpoint, that being intelligence, but better. Just like intelligence, wisdom also have passive skills, only not one, but two. Passivity is all good and so on, but can you imagine using these skills actively? Seriously, I use insight every single social encounter. I use questions like what kind of vibes the guy has or what do I think of them. You could see the DM's cock start to rotate when he realizes his twistful can't just lie to the party. He was quite new at DMing, so if you have similar problems like that, it's better to assume that your landly liar has a high deception, but also give your players answer like something doesn't end up. You have a bad feeling about this. Unlike investigation and insight, somehow the fact that perception, being passive skill, is not always forgotten by your DM, maybe because perception is used in combat, mainly to determine who's got to play in the surprise round. Oh, you ditched the surprise round? You know, I have convoluted feelings about you feel me? I mean, it did took a lot of time. On the other hand, if your player do prepare a collaborated strike, just give them the surprise round instead of free advantage number 42,069. Seriously now, observant feat is like so strong. Having high perception character is like playing a different game entirely. You will literally experience wide roll effects once you switch back to low perception characters. So these were passive skills. How about the rest? Glad you asked. They actually great. Wisdom subskills have a certain spicing. They got the minigame flavor baked into them. You know what I mean? Your party follows their target, tracing small drips of blood. Surivel, the horse girl of your group, goes to tame that unattainable, beautiful beast. Animal handling. Need to defuse a nuclear bomb in a gay man's ass. Medicine for some reason. Actually, medicine is good for stabilizing your party members who hit 0. That's an important thing to mention. Like yeah, you just throwing d20s, but the way you use these skills is what makes narrative interesting. Finally, herbalism kit and rest of the kitchen tools. On adventures there's usually no kitchen around to send your wife to, so you had to cook for yourself. To which I say, we love our dungeon dashies over at Goblin Town Production. So with what exactly are you cooking in this game? You cooking with love? No, I meant to say wisdom. You don't need love, you need to practice with a rat on your head to be like Gordon Ramsay, you fucking donkey. So yeah, wisdom is like intelligence, but better. Heck, there are even more classes who utilize wisdom than intelligence. At this point of the video I realized that Arcane Trickster and Eldritch Knight are subclasses that do in fact exist, but there is also a reason why I forgot about them at the first place.
Dude.
Is that okay?
Marty. Hashisha Chi.
Sheath Geem Shari. Blisak Alkei!
Charisma is for navigating social interactions, right? Wrong, charisma is here for your spellcasting modifier and the way how you deal damage, of course. At least this is how it looks when majority of your spellcasting classes utilize charisma. Yeah, this is our last stop. I mostly dipped into every point I wanted to say already, so let's pinpoint the elephant in the room. How do you roleplay high charisma if I'm not natural sexy as you, Goblin? That's the point. You don't roleplay high charisma. You roll for charisma. I will assume you are not a professional voice actor running the largest stream on Twitch, and you don't have what it takes to become one. But nobody expects this from you. It's okay, I love you the way you are. So here is what you do. Instead of grasping for your breath while trying to find out what your character will say right there at the moment, you will take time, realize that this is stupid. Even Hollywood paid actors don't work like that, and you will describe instead what you're doing. A model situation. Your party is on a ball in this fancy mansion. You talk to this princess who you're trying to get laid. I mean, you use her as a vessel to convict her father to do the right thing. I imagine you never talk to a girl, Jimmy, but you don't need to. Your high charisma horny bard do know how to impress my ladies. You will say, my bard starts with tiny compliment on her robust dress, then makes some cheeky jokes like, can you even breathe in this? And slowly we'll shift the conversation to maybe talk to your father.
Your DM won't have a psychological map of every single NPC in front of them.
If conversation you describe is within boundaries of reason, they will let you persuade the NPC with one persuasion roll. You can do pretty much the same when you need to talk to a large group of peasants. You will say something like, I will scream like Goebbels at the sport palace. Or when you need to talk to a child who witnessed this horrible murder, I will do whatever Ripley did in the Aliens movie. Consuming large amounts of fiction is actually a very good way how to learn roleplay in general. You will gain a picture of what the scene should play out in a roundup way. The same goes for intelligence. And yeah, this technically can't be used on LARPs, for example. You need to talk there, but you can actually do a hybrid between describing and talking directly. And before you could even notice, you're talking to some real cosplaying chicks in the forest instead of some imaginary ones at your mother's basement. That was my daily dose of Manosphere content for you all, my fellas. What do you think, bold man?
I'm a mighty monk barbarian cross class. At your service, my leash.
Anyway, we summed up the whole terrifying experience of talking to girls via one persuasion roll, which gets me to my main problem I have with charisma, and that is, there is so many subskills under charisma, but they end up serving the same purpose, which is a problem because you don't have that much proficiencies to spare. I will tell you example with a player I had. So he was playing Eloquence Bard. Yes, I allowed it, it's not that broken as you think. And he was using the Silver Tongue feature. It was genuinely fun, but I noticed that he was forcing himself to lie, even if telling the truth would make more sense. But you know, having just +9 to persuasion, then having what basically is +19 to deception would hurt. So he lied even if it was detrimental for the party, ironically wasting his expertise in persuasion. But this is what happens when you have skills like deception, intimidation and persuasion. They serve the same goal, so theoretically you can just pick one and ditch the rest. DnD 5e have of course numerous advantages comprehending to other systems like Call of Cthulhu or groups. Is it groups or groups? Damn, I don't remember. What kind of Mandela effect is this? Where you have so many skills that exactly this happen with players all the time. And charisma is the skill where you can mostly see this issue being reflected to D&D. Actually, I have this homebrew where I allow low charisma players using their minus charisma modifier as their plus to intimidation, and sometimes instead of charisma I allow using intelligence as the modifier for persuasion checks as a voice of reason if the NPC they're talking to is also intelligent. This happens very rarely, mainly to give some low charisma PCs something to do during roleplay heavy sessions. Final subskill we have of course performance. I love this skill not because it's OP, but because it's just joy to use it. Oh hi Jimmy, what's the matter? Psst, I did what you told me and we fade to black. My DM wants me to know my performance. Then just roll for performance, duh. Actually, add your constitution modifier to it. Viewers can already tell you how good the unofficial constitution skills are. So yeah, that's all skills / stats in this game. I've just realized I was using these phrases interchangeably, sorry for that, just as the term subskill doesn't exist, but I believe you still understood what I was talking about. The thesis why I'm making this video is simple. I believe your stats tell a lot more about your character as your class, for example, but the way how the game works is that you are forced to attune your stats to the class you are playing. I'm completely fine with it. I do my characters like that all the time, but for many people who are new at the hobby, it can be a lot more intuitive to say I want to play this agile, clever, badass archaeologist than I want to play a blade singer. They don't know what blade singer is yet. I suppose if I really wanted to do this video for beginners, I shouldn't have talked about the nitty-gritty of the D&D in such an extent. So let me know in comments below if you like what you saw, or God forbid, it was helpful for your own games. So thanks for watching, and this is the end of the video.